Give us some camp battles that we should be keeping an eye on. And I'm going to start, first of all, with the one that looks like it's an obvious one, and that is the cornerback spot opposite Paulson at Dabo.
Yeah, that would have been my number one. Yeah.
Okay. So
yeah,
how is that? What do you think about, that matchup, that competition, and who's the favorite?
Deonte Banks is the favorite. He's the guy who the Giants want to win. The Giants, this regime, slants battles into the favor of who they want to win them. So Deonte Banks will get every opportunity to win. He's a round one draft pick that they want to prove is not a bust. He had a horrible year last year, and obviously they brought in a Debo to take pressure off Banks, so he's no longer the number one corner. But Cordell Flott is pesky, and he hangs around. He's had opportunities to win starting jobs before. He's never seized the opportunity, but he never fully goes away either. So he's capable of playing the slot or the outside. I think ideally they'd like Banks to win the job and Flott to be the top backup at every spot. I think that would be their ideal situation. But if Banks' effort is a question again, as it was last year, then Flott could steal that job. That's number one. I would say backup quarterback is a really interesting one because Russell Wilson's the starting quarterback here for the start of the season. How long? I don't know. Maybe we'll get into that. But he's going to be the week one starter. I don't know that Jameis Winston is guaranteed to be QB2. Jackson Dart could steal that, the rookie. He's getting first team reps in the spring. He'll get first team reps in the summer. They want to make sure he's coming along with his development. Winston will get some first team reps too, but I would say there's a chance if Jackson Dart has a really impressive summer that he could be elevated above Jameis Winston. I would not rule that out. He's not going to be elevated above Wilson. Not going to be above Wilson, at least not to start. But I wouldn't rule out that he could be the number 2 quarterback when the season starts.
So if that scenario were to take place, then would there be a good, would we think then that at the deadline, that if a team wanted a veteran backup, that Winston would be trade bait?
Sure, but you could have had him, teams could have had him for $4 million a year in March, and no one took him. So I don't know how desirable Jameis Winston is as a top 1 or 2 quarterback to most teams. Like if somebody wanted him as a backup or a competitive starter, they could have paid him $5 million a year and got him before the Giants did. So yeah, I would think if that scenario where he's the number 3 quarterback came to fruition, then sure, he could be available. But the plan is Russell Wilson starts this year, Jackson Dart starts next year. And the reason Jameis Winston has a 2-year contract is to be the, backup next year and 2-year caretaker for Jackson Dart. He's the guy to help. He's the guy to help mold him, not Russell Wilson.
Staying on offense, how about wide receiver?
I'll give you another training camp battle. Right guard, Greg Van Roten's the incumbent. He's back, but the Giants, again, as I said, they would love for Evan Neal to win this job. They are moving him from right tackle. They are moving him from right tackle, where the 7th overall pick in the draft was a bust, to right guard to try to salvage something out of his career. I don't know. I don't know that he can play right guard, but he did it in college as a freshman. There's still some questions about whether he's too top heavy and loses his balance, and when he's on the ground too much. That still looked to be the case in OTAs, even though it's not a lot of physicality. He's a good run blocker, so that could play to his strength inside. They would love for him to win that job, but they can't do what they've done in the past and force feed somebody who's not the best player at the position. If they do that, guys in the locker room will be furious.
Well, when you're, I would think when you're a coaching staff that is this close from getting jettisoned, that doesn't happen anymore. It's you're putting your best players out there. I would guess.
I mean, I would guess that too, but it's the most stubborn regime I've ever seen. So,
okay.
So it's I mean, yes, I would think so, but I didn't think they'd do something. I didn't think they'd have Josh Azudu at left tackle for 2 years, and they did that. So
That's true. Okay. So, what about a battle for the backup role, the top backup role at receiver? Because we know who the top three are going to be. I know you did a recent article regarding Smith Marset, and he's the big returner, and he'd like to do a little bit more than that. Most of them will. And I know he's somebody that was interesting when I remember him in college. He had some playmaking ability, which he's shown as far as a returner so far. But Hyatt was a third-round draft pick just a couple of years ago. So, what do you think about right now? Do you know if there is a legitimate number 4 on this team?
yeah, it's Hyatt. I just don't know. Legitimate's word that's hard to define. He's the
Sure.
fourth guy. He'll get the fourth most snaps. He'll be the first one up if somebody's injured. But he had 8 catches for 62 yards last year. So he is bigger. We heard that last year. Didn't really translate, but he is. He's definitely bigger. The hope here is that his skill set matches up well with Russell Wilson. We all know about Russell Wilson and his moon balls, while Hyatt's strength is his vertical, straight line speed and go balls. So the hope here is that they can, get Hyatt down the field, not too complex routes and have Russ hit him in stride. So Daniel Jones struggled to get the ball down the field. That kind of negated some of Hyatt. He got frustrated with his role, and last year just ended up being kind of a completely lost year. But the fact that they didn't bring in anybody over him tells you they're not ready to give up on him.
Okay. I know one of our viewers has a question regarding the wide receiver position. So I'll post that right here for you, Ryan. Antonio wants to know what you think about the Giants signing a veteran like Gabe Davis.
I don't think that's going to happen. I guess if Gabe Davis takes the league minimum, which I think he could because the Jaguars owe him money, so anything would offset. So I guess he probably is looking at a minimum. What I understand is Gabe Davis didn't have a clean bill of health when he came to visit the Giants, however long ago that was, a month ago, 2 months ago. If he gets a clean bill of health, I guess it's possible, though his skill set kind of overlaps with what they have in Slayton and Hyatt. So I don't think he's a perfect fit for the receiving core. There's ties between Joe Shane and Brian Dable and Gabe Davis, which is why he's an obvious candidate. He knows the offense. If you were telling me that they had a bunch of injuries in training camp or early in the season, I would put him at the top of the fill-in list, but I don't think he's somebody that they're like jumping, to add if their top 4 are already healthy.